Imagine a harbor, once bustling with commerce, now shimmering under a moonlit sky. The air is thick with anticipation. A group of men, their faces obscured, move with purpose, their actions about to ignite a revolution. This was Boston Harbor on the eve of December 16, 1773, a night forever etched in the annals of American history. What drove these colonists to such a defiant act? To understand, we must delve into the simmering tensions that had gripped the colonies for years. The Boston Tea Party was not a spontaneous outburst. It was the culmination of years of growing frustration and resentment towards British rule. The colonists, accustomed to a degree of self-governance, chafed under increasingly restrictive policies imposed from London. At the heart of the dispute was a fundamental principle, the right to representation. The colonists argued that without elected representatives in Parliament, they should not be subject to its taxes. This cry of no taxation without representation became a rallying point for the burgeoning resistance movement. The British government, burdened by debt from the recent French and Indian War, saw the colonies as a source of revenue. They enacted a series of taxes on goods imported to America, including tea, a staple of colonial life. The Stamp Act of 1765, which levied a tax on legal documents and printed materials, had already sparked widespread protests and boycotts. While Parliament repealed the Stamp Act in the face of colonial resistance, they asserted their right to tax the colonies with the Declaratory Act. The Townshend Acts of 1767 imposed new taxes on goods like tea, glass, and paper. These acts met with immediate resistance, with colonists organizing boycotts of British goods and forming committees of correspondence to share information and coordinate their opposition. The British government responded by sending troops to Boston, further inflaming tensions. The Boston Massacre of 1770, in which British soldiers fired upon a crowd of unarmed colonists, killing 5, became a symbol of British oppression and galvanized support for the growing resistance. Amidst this backdrop of rising tension emerged the Sons of Liberty, a secret society dedicated to resisting British policies. Comprised of merchants, artisans, and intellectuals, the Sons of Liberty played a pivotal role in organizing protests and disseminating anti-British sentiment. They used public demonstrations, pamphlets, and newspapers to rally support for their cause. Their actions, often shrouded in secrecy, were a testament to their unwavering commitment to securing liberty for their fellow colonists. The Sons of Liberty understood the power of symbolism. They recognized that a bold act of defiance, one that would capture the attention of both the colonists and the Crown, was needed to galvanize the resistance movement. The arrival of tea ships carrying East India Company tea, a symbol of British authority, and the hated tea tax presented such an opportunity. The Sons of Liberty resolved to take action, an action that would reverberate throughout the colonies and across the Atlantic. On that crisp December evening, as the ships carrying the East India Company tea lay anchored in Boston Harbor, a group of colonists, many disguised as Mohawk Indians, boarded the vessels. Armed with hatchets and a resolute spirit, they dumped 342 chests of tea into the harbor, a defiant act of protest against British taxation without representation. The Boston Tea Party, as it came to be known, was a turning point in the struggle between Great Britain and her American colonies. The colonists' actions were not driven by wanton destruction. The tea, they argued, represented the tangible manifestation of unjust British policies. By destroying it, they aimed to send a clear message to the Crown. The colonists would no longer tolerate being treated as second-class citizens. The Boston Tea Party was a carefully orchestrated act of defiance, a calculated risk taken to defend the principles of liberty and self-governance. News of the Boston Tea Party spread like wildfire throughout the colonies and across the Atlantic. While some in Britain condemned the act as vandalism, others, sympathetic to the colonists' cause, saw it as a justifiable act of resistance against tyranny. The British government, however, was outraged. They viewed the destruction of the tea as a direct challenge to their authority and resolved to punish the colonists for their defiance. The British Parliament responded with a series of punitive measures known as the Coercive Acts. These acts, designed to isolate and punish Massachusetts, closed the port of Boston, restricted town meetings, and allowed for the quartering of British troops in private homes. Far from quelling the unrest, the coercive acts only served to further alienate the colonists and solidify their opposition to British rule. The other colonies rallied to Massachusetts' aid, sending supplies and pledging their support. The stage was set for a confrontation. The British government, determined to assert its authority, dispatched more troops to Massachusetts. The colonists, equally resolute in their defense of liberty, began forming militias and stockpiling weapons. The atmosphere was tense, with both sides preparing for the possibility of open conflict. The spirit of defiance ignited in Boston Harbor now burned brightly across the colonies. In April 1775, British troops marched towards Concord, Massachusetts, seeking to seize a cache of colonial weapons. Forewarned by writers like Paul Revere, colonial militiamen confronted the British at Lexington, marking the beginning of the American Revolutionary War. The shots exchanged that day, the shot heard round the world, signaled the irreversible break between Great Britain and her American colonies. The fight for independence, sparked by the defiance of a few brave souls in Boston Harbor, had begun. The American Revolutionary War was a long and arduous struggle. Outnumbered and outgunned, the Continental Army, led by General George Washington, faced a formidable foe in the British Empire. Yet, fueled by the ideals of liberty and self-determination, the colonists persevered. The Declaration of Independence, signed on July 4, 1776, eloquently articulated the colonists' grievances against King George III and asserted their right to form a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. The war raged on for 6 more years, with victories and defeats on both sides. The colonists, aided by France and other European powers, gradually gained the upper hand. Finally, in 1783, the Treaty of Paris was signed, formally recognizing the independence of the United States of America. A new nation, founded on the principles of liberty and self-governance, had emerged from the ashes of revolution. The Boston Tea Party stands as a testament to the power of peaceful protest and the enduring human spirit to fight for freedom. It serves as a reminder that even the most powerful empires can be challenged by the unwavering resolve of ordinary citizens determined to secure their rights. The legacy of the Tea Party extends far beyond the shores of Boston Harbor. It is a story that resonates around the world, inspiring generations to stand up against oppression and fight for a more just and equitable society. Today, the Boston Tea Party is commemorated as a pivotal event in American history. It is a story that is retold in classrooms, museums, and homes across the nation, reminding us of the sacrifices made by those who fought for our freedoms. The spirit of 1773, the spirit of defiance against tyranny and the unwavering belief in the principles of liberty, continues to inspire Americans today. The Boston Tea Party was more than just a protest against a tax on tea. It was a rejection of tyranny in all its forms. It was a declaration that the colonists would no longer be ruled without their consent. It was a pivotal moment in the long and arduous struggle for human freedom. The spirit of 1773, the spirit of the Boston Tea Party, continues to resonate today, reminding us that the price of liberty is eternal vigilance. As we reflect on the legacy of the Boston Tea Party, let us remember that the fight for freedom is never truly over. It is a fight that each generation must take up anew, safeguarding the hard-won liberties passed down to us and striving to create a more just and equitable world for all. The spirit of 1773 calls upon us to be vigilant in our defense of freedom, to speak out against injustice, and to never take our liberties for granted.